Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing a full face of Charlotte Tilbury and also reviewing the new Instant Look of Love in a palette. I chose the Glowing Beauty shade, which is the deeper palette. I just thought this one screamed a little bit more to my personal taste. So it comes in this very luxe packaging. It is a little on the heavy side, which I love for luxury makeup. I think that's important to have very beautiful packaging. And the inside is beautiful too. This is definitely more of a neutral palette, and I love that you get all the eyeshadows and the face shades as well, because it just makes it a great, very convenient palette that's a great all-in-one. If you are new to makeup, this would just be a great palette to have on hand, or if you travel lots, this is also amazing. So again, it comes with 3 eyeshadows, and then we get 4 face products. It comes with her very beautiful Airbrush Flawless powder, which everyone loves. And I don't know if I'd necessarily say this is the look of love bottled up into a complexion palette, but that is what she is calling it. And she does say that this is a 7-shade bronze gold makeup palette to beautifully enhance your eyes, cheeks, and complexion. For me, it really did that. Just a spoiler alert, I do really love this. And I'll just quickly show you some swatches. So these are kind of all the swatches. I am really terrible at swatching, so I apologize. But these are the swatches. This is the palette. I just wanted to go over kind of my first initial impressions when I opened this up, but I think it's stunning. And I am going to do, again, a full face of Charlotte Tilbury and go over all my thoughts on this palette. And before I get started into the application, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, share it if you want to share it. Let me know down below if you plan on picking anything up from this collection. I would love to know your thoughts on this one. I just have to say right off the bat, I love how this looks. I think it is so pretty. It's such a natural glam, kind of perfect romantic look, and I'm just very happy. So again, a little bit of a spoiler, but let's just get into the full face of Charlotte Tilbury and my review of this palette. Okay, let's get started with the eye. So the palette comes in this beautiful packaging. Charlotte Tilbury always has really beautiful packaging, and it kind of gives you an outline on what the palette contains. And then it comes in this gorgeous gold palette. So these are the shades we'll be using today, and I am excited to test this out. I decided to go with the deeper one because knowing Charlotte Tilbury's past makeup releases, she tends to go very, very light. So her medium bronzer that I have, I don't even have a medium skin tone. I have a light to medium skin tone. That is too light for me. So I just thought the light palette would probably be too light for me, just considering past releases. Anyways, I'm going to go in first with the shade Smoke, which is actually, it's not like super deep, but it's deeper than I would usually use for a transition shade. I'm going to go in with the Smoke shade on a Sonia G Blender Pro. And I just want to say when I dip in, it is quite powdery. I don't mind that. Her past formula has had the tendency to be quite powdery, which just means mostly that it'll be very pigmented. So I'm just, oh gosh, yes, very pigmented. I probably went in with a bit too much. So first I'm just going to pat that on the outer corner of my eye where I want the most color. And then maybe I'll actually put it on a little bit on my other eye because I didn't realize how pigmented that would be. And then, okay, that color is kind of dispersed and faded. I'm going to bring the rest of that into the crease to use as a transition. Alternatively, if you are similar in skin tone to me, I would probably just go in with the bronzer as a transition shade, or you can mix the 2 shades together and use that as a transition shade. And then I'd probably just use this shade as an eyeliner or to deepen up the outer corner, just on my skin tone perfectly. But if you have a deeper skin, I think this would be great as a transition. The shade is really gorgeous. On her site, she says that this is a warm mauve brown matte for quick and easy sculpting. I would definitely agree with that. I don't see the mauve tone though. I'd say this is more of like a reddish brown. It's not too red though, where it's overly warm and like it makes your eyes look sick because it's kind of on that, again, red side. This is a really beautiful color though. Okay, and because this shade is a little deeper than what I normally use for a transition shade, I am going to dip into the bronzer, which is the number 4 shade Face Bronze. And I'm just going to blend that out a little bit, just to kind of soften things up. So I'm just going around the edges and then again bringing it into the crease, just really lightly. I'm not being too precise with this. This is definitely a more smoky look than what I am used to, so For me, this would be more of a going out look because it is quite deep. Okay, I think that is better. I am going to again go in with the smoke shade, the number 3, that reddish brown, the only matte eyeshadow in the palette, and I'm just going to use this as an eyeliner. So I'm just smudging this across my top lash line from the outer corner all the way inwards. Next, I'm going to take my Sonia G Builder 2, and I'm going to the number 1 shade, which is the Eye Brighten. She describes this as a rose taupe sparkle. I would say this is more of a shimmer sheen, but that's fine. I'm just, oh, that's quite pigmented for this shimmer shadow. I'm used to some of her shadows, especially in her larger palettes. They're not quite as pigmented, but this is very beautiful. Wow, and I love that color. That is really pretty. Okay, really enjoy that color. It's very easy to apply. This has no chunks of sparkle. It just gives you a beautiful sheen, which I really enjoy. I think that would be beautiful for a daytime look if you just want to keep it as like this. And then I am, of course, going to go into the sparkle shade. So this is an eye enhanced shade. It is the new diamond filter texture, whatever that is. So she's added a new formula, which is the diamond filter sparkle texture, which is apparently a smooth second skin-like application with lustrous pigments for a star-like reflective finish. So I would say this is probably similar to her pop shades in her quads. So I'm just going to first try and apply this with a brush. Usually her pop shades are best applied with fingers or with a damp brush. Okay, so wow, that is very surprising. I really thought, like most of her pop shades, like I said, it would be best applied with fingers. And her pop shades are pretty notorious for having fallout. I honestly don't see any fallout applied with a brush, which is pretty remarkable for a shimmer or a sparkle eyeshadow. There tends to be at least a little bit of fallout. This is beautiful, and it's not a very chunky glitter where it looks obnoxious or over the top. In comparison to like a Pat McGrath glitter, this is way more subdued, but it's very sophisticated and an elegant shimmer. Sometimes I can find the Pat McGrath shimmers, like I would never wear that during the daytime because it's just too much for me, and it gives you such an intense glitter effect, but this is very sophisticated sparkle. Kind of like a mature shimmer, I would say. Very similar to the Tom Ford eyeshadow toppers in his quads, if you've tried those. So to get a bit more pigmentation, I am going to go in with my fingertips just to see if this will add some intensity. So this definitely applies more of that shimmer onto the lid, but again, the sparkle, and there's definitely sparkle, I do want to emphasize that. It's not obnoxious, it's not obnoxious glitter, it's not chunky in any way. This is beautiful. I'm just going to apply a bit of color to the lower lash line before I move on to the face. I'm just going to mix the first 2 shimmers together back and forth on a Wayne Goss 20 brush and just apply this from inner to outer corner. Just add a bit of glow underneath my lash line. I'm going to go ahead and apply my mascara. I'm going to use a combination of the Dior 3D Lash Maximizer and the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Push-Up Lashes, which I just got at the Sephora VIP sale. And I'll come back and we can work on the face and use the rest of the palette on the face. Okay, mascara is on, and can I just say how much better the eyes look once the mascara is done? I just love this eye look. It is so classy. It is so elegant and beautiful. I just feel like this is very sophisticated, very much Charlotte Tilbury. But anyways, moving on to the face, I'm going to start off with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Eye Corrector. I think that's what it's called. I'm just going to take a little bit on my fingers. I'm just going to use this as my concealer today. I think it looks really nice because it's not over the top as a concealer. It just color corrects a tiny bit, and it's a very lightweight concealer. Most color correctors are ultra pigmented and really heavy, and also like a straight up orange color, but this just gives you a very beautiful brightness. It's just slightly, like you can see there's a peach tone in it to help correct, but it's not over the top where then you have to go in with concealer over the top. You can just wear this as is, and it just gives you a nice bit of brightness, but it's not too brightening and it's not heavy in any way, shape, or form. This is a great no makeup concealer. Moving on to foundation, I'm going to apply the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Youth Boosting Perfect Skin Foundation. I wear the shade 6 Medium. So I'm just going to apply a little bit to the palm of my hand because you want to apply it to the palm of your hand so it doesn't soak into the pores on the back of your hand. The palm of your hand obviously doesn't contain pores. But I have to be honest, I don't love this foundation. Now, I will say the first few times I used it, I applied too much. This is a foundation you do not want to apply too much product. And it is kind of hard because it's just a squeezy tube, so you can't just pump it out. But if you apply too much product, it will look heavy on the skin. It just does for some reason. So you have to be very particular with how much product you're applying onto the skin, because once you surpass a certain amount, it starts to look heavy. But if you do apply just a very light amount of product, it does look very beautiful. I would just say it's not like the most long-wearing foundation. It's definitely a light to medium coverage. And if you do keep it on the light side, it looks really beautiful. It's definitely more of a glowy foundation. But I would just choose other products from Charlotte Tilbury before I would reach for this foundation. I will say when you apply the right amount of product, it does look very nice and beautiful on the skin. Just a very healthy looking foundation. Okay, just going to finish off the eyes. I'm going to take the number 1 Brighten shade. And I don't, again, like to apply inner corner highlight right to my inner corner because I think it makes my eyes look really tired for some reason. So I just apply it to the very inside corner of the upper eyelid and kind of bring it to the upper crease. Very impressed with how pigmented this shimmer shade is for Charlotte Tilbury. So just adding that and then going in with the smoke shade. Yes, the smoke shade number 3, that matte shade. I'm just gonna tap into that once and then dab off the excess on my hand and just apply this to the lower lash line because I remember how pigmented this is. So I'm bringing it from the outside corner inwards. I'm not going to bring it all the way to the inner corner. And then I'm going to make sure to connect that to the upper outer eyelid to make sure everything flows. Okay, just added some lower lash mascara and tight lined. And I will say, while this shade here, the smoke shade, is very pigmented and a little deeper than I normally would use, it blends beautifully. It just is a very smooth matte and it's so easy to blend. So I'm really enjoying this eye look. Now to move on to the face products, I am going to start out with the bronze. This is the face bronze. This is the iconic Film Star bronzer in medium deep for a sun-kissed bronze to contour and sculpt the look of your cheekbones. I have to be honest, I do not love the duos, the bronze and glows. So I'm interested to see if this formula is actually going to be the same as it is in those duos, just because those aren't my favorite. I much prefer her matte bronzers. So again, going into this, it's a little hard to fit my bronzer brush in here, but I'm going to do my best. And I wonder how this will look on my light to medium skin. Hopefully it won't be too deep. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit and top off that excess and then just bronze up the skin. Okay, yeah, it definitely is a deeper bronzer, but it honestly is blending onto the skin really beautifully. I feel like this is not her usual formula though, because I don't really like that other bronzer, but maybe it's just because this is the deeper shade. I'm not too sure, but that's a really nice bronze look. I definitely have to be careful because it's definitely a deeper bronzer for my skin tone, so I'm going to really blend it out. It's really nice. It's definitely a warm tone bronzer, and I don't think it's too deep for me, especially because you can just be light-handed if you have a lighter skin tone. All right, so I am a little worried about the highlight. I think it might be a little too deep for me personally, but that's okay. I can make it work. So I'm going to go in with the number 5 shade, which says Face Highlight, and taking my Sonia G Mini Cheek. Again, I don't love the highlight from the duo, so I'm hoping this will actually not be it. Okay, that is very subtle, and it definitely, I would say it's slightly too deep, but it's not too noticeable. Like, I could definitely make this work, and it's a very subtle highlight, but very pretty because I do enjoy a subtle highlight where it just adds a soft glow to the skin and it's not obnoxious. Like, this is not a highlight that you're going to see from space. It's not glittery in any way. It just adds a beautiful sheen and adds a nice reflection. I actually do think this works. It's not too deep, but if it was any deeper, it would be too deep on my skin tone. I'm just going to run a bit of excess just on my Cupid's bow here and just really blend that in. And I think I am going to go back in with my bronzer brush. Oh my gosh, I always get those words confused. And just run over the edges because, again, this is slightly too deep for me. Okay, and now going into the Cheek Pop shade, which is the number 6. It's this beautiful peachy pink. Again, it's really hard to get into these with because they're really small, but I'm going to take my Wayne Goss number 12. Actually, I think that will fit in there quite well. That actually works perfectly fine. And I am going to, again, tap off that excess because this is obviously going to be a deeper shade, and just apply this onto the cheeks. That's a really pretty color. Sometimes I don't love her formula just because there is quite a bit of shimmer in the blushes, and that can emphasize texture. I don't think this is. It's just such a pretty color. It adds a really nice youthful glow back to my skin because it is a pretty pop of color. And it goes well with these eyes because these eyes are quite neutral, so it just adds a nice pop of color that's not anything too crazy. But definitely if you're my skin tone or lighter, be light-handed with these because they are quite deep for my skin tone. I shouldn't say they're quite deep because they are really easy to blend and you can just apply a smaller amount of product. But yeah, just go in light-handed and make sure you're tapping off that excess on the back of your hand. And to finish everything off, I'm going to use the last powder in here, which is the face powder. I'm taking it on a Sonia G Face One, and I'm going to use this to buff. And I'm just going to, again, wipe off that excess. And I'm going to blend over everything. Usually at this point I would not apply powder because I like to wait until my foundation's kind of settled into my skin to see if I really need powder, but I do want to use the full palette so that I can get a look at how things perform. It's really hard to tell if this is the same formula as her normal powder, but I'm assuming it is. It definitely added a nice perfecting look to the skin. It smoothed out my pore area, which is usually what that powder does, and just softened everything up so there's no harsh lines, which is really important because, again, this palette is a bit on the deeper side. I'm going to quickly finish my lips and go in with the Pillow Talk lip liner from Charlotte Tilbury. I think this will pair really nicely. So I'm just going to line and fill in the lips. And then for the lipstick, I'm going to take the, oh my god, I don't even know what this is called. It's one of these little, they're basically like a tinted lip balm similar to like the Chanel Rouge Coco Flash. And this is the shade Princess Kiss, and I have almost gone through this entire thing. It's so beautiful. I love the formula on this. And then as always, I rub in that lip product because I don't really like my lipstick to look like a lipstick, or I don't like it to sit on top of my lips. I like it to be more of a worn-in look. Alright, so this is the final look using the Instant Look of Love in a palette in the Glowing Beauty shade. Now let me discuss my first impressions. Packaging is stunning, so beautiful, so luxe. It's more on the hefty side, which I think is really important when you are paying for luxury beauty. The packaging does play a part in it because you want it to be beautiful and you want to feel, I think part of buying luxury makeup is the experience. This is gorgeous. This would be perfect for traveling. I just think it's so cute. But the most important thing is the product on the inside. Oh, I forgot about the mirror here. Okay, this is a good quality mirror, I do want to point out. The products on the inside, this is stunning. I'm honestly super impressed. Now, sometimes when luxury brands release palettes, the formula isn't as great, but I think this is on par with the rest of the Charlotte Tilbury line. All of these performed amazing, and I'm so happy with these eyeshadows because sometimes I notice that maybe the eyeshadow quality isn't the same as in the quads or bigger palettes, but this is perfection. This shimmer is so beautiful. This is definitely more of a sheen, but it's ultra pigmented, very creamy. It blends into the skin. This top coat is really, really beautiful as well. Like I said, it's a very elegant sparkle, so it's nothing going to be obnoxious. It's not chunky. When you feel it, it is more of a drier texture, but that is because it is a glitter formula. And it just adds such a beautiful sheen onto the eyes. Like I said, not obnoxious, not a chunky glitter. It's a very sophisticated glitter that reminds me of the Tom Ford glitters. Very impressed with this. It's not much of a color base down, so you get a slight bronzed rose effect, but there isn't much opaque color. Like there's no color base. It's mostly just the sparkle that you see. There's a bit of color, but not totally opaque. This matte, beautiful, just like the rest of the matte shades that she's been coming out with recently. I've been ultra impressed with her matte formula. This does not disappoint, and for how deep it is, it blends onto the eyes beautifully. So easy to blend out, perfect. The bronzer I was really impressed with as well. It's probably not my favorite bronzer of all time, but I do think it blended out really easily. I definitely do have a lighter skin tone, and it was really easy to blend. It's not patchy. It's not overly warm. I don't feel it's too warm for my skin tone. If you're lighter than me, you probably want to be careful. And this highlight I actually think is pretty perfect. It does melt into the skin very beautifully. It's not going to give you a very intense glow. It's definitely more of a subtle glow, but it does add a beautiful sheen. But this is more of a natural highlight. And then the blush shade is just beautiful. It's a perfect peachy pink with a bit of shimmer, and the texture is very smooth and creamy. Definitely more on the pigmented side, so I had to be careful because, of course, I'm more light complected. But it's very beautiful, and I don't feel it's overly shimmery. Now, Charlotte Tilbury does like her glowier products, so this definitely does give a glow, but it's not going to be a glow that's going to emphasize your skin texture. If you do have any texture. And I liked the powder. I think it's pretty similar to her other powder. I was thinking this was going to be a deeper powder though, so for me this actually works, but if you're more of a medium skin tone, if you're deeper than me, I don't think this powder will work. I think it's going to be a bit too light on you, so that's probably a disappointment. Now, I just want to say I am very impressed that Charlotte Tilbury released 2 of these shades, because it's disappointing when there's only one palette released from brands and only one skin complexion can use it. But I do think she should have released a 3rd shade, because I personally think the lightest palette she made is probably good for light, probably like very fair to light complexions. This one's great for light to medium complexions, probably tan complexions. And I do think that we need another palette that's for deeper complexions. I just think that she kind of missed out on that, because this bronzer is not going to be deep enough for you if you do have a deep skin tone. This face powder is definitely going to be too light. And I think the eyeshadows would work if you have a deep skin tone, but you want to buy a palette to use all the shades. So I just think she missed out on that. But my overall thoughts on this is that I absolutely love this palette. I am going to be using it quite frequently. I think this eye look is so stunning. It's, like I said, a very sophisticated glam look. I wouldn't personally wear this to work just because of the glitter, but if I just cut out that glitter shade, I could use this for work. I would use this traveling. I would use this to go out at night for sure because of that sparkle. I would use it for girls' nights, going out for dinner, any sort of special occasion, because it is a very pretty look. It's kind of a bridal look, I would say. It's very soft. It's like a natural glam look. You're not going to, it's not obviously like crazy colors or anything like that, but it just gives you a very pretty, naturally enhanced look that I think is perfect for any occasion. So this is something I would obviously love to use traveling, because it's just so convenient, and I love these palettes for that. Normally when I buy a palette like this, I don't love every shade, so then it makes me not want to take it traveling, because then I feel like I have to bring another blush along with me or something like that. But this, I love every single product in here. Yeah, I just think this is really, really a great palette, and now I'm kind of bummed that I didn't pick up the lighter palette, so I think I'm going to do that. But that is my final thought and first impressions on the new Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look of Love in a Palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you plan on picking up this collection. Leave your thoughts down below. Don't forget before you leave to subscribe to my channel. Leave your comments down below. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.